There, yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. Maybe you said it and I missed it. Was it majority Canada and Australia 50-50 or what was it?
It was a 50-50. I think technically it might have been 49.5. It's good for one partner to have even a 0.5%, and you can negotiate who has that. And that's just because sometimes there's a really, really hard call to make, and there has to be somebody who's the final line there. And negotiating that is important because you hope it will never get there, and you tell each other it never will, but it might one day, and you need to respect that negotiation. There is a threshold in each of the countries. So for example, in Australia, it's a minimum 30% they have to be in for. I think in New Zealand it's 15. In the UK, I think it's 20. They've all been negotiated differently, but when you're putting those finance plans together, you need to know right away what the threshold is for that country. What I'll say in Canada, and other people might disagree with me, I've done a co-production where we were 20% on UK production, and it wasn't worth it. I'll just tell you all that now. It was not financially worth it. I wouldn't do one below 30. And even that, you got to make sure that your budget can handle the all of the business affairs and the legals, which are way more expensive on a co-production than they are on a domestic project. So make sure that's built into your budget. Some people say up your budget by 20% when you're in co-production. I say that, I think that might be more than you need. I mean, you just have to figure it out on your lines. But just when you're doing it, just be careful that you have somebody who's an expert in co-productions look at your budget, look at your financing plan, and make sure that that 20% is going to cover your costs, and at least have enough related party transactions that you're keeping your office open. You probably won't make a profit on 20%, but if it's worth it because you're going to have a global recognition, then that checks a box. And then the other box might be, hey, it kept our office open for a year, so that might check a box too, but it won't necessarily make you money. Once you get above 20 though, it does start to, it's better.
Thank you.
Your front table.
So I have a question. You said that in Canada you were supervising the directing, filming, and in Australia it was the editing. It can change drastically from the production and the editing part. Did you have any say on this part, or it was completely up to them?
So there was 4 executive producers on this project, 2 Canadians and 2 Australians. I was one of them. President of BGM, Julie Bristow was one. Andrew Ogilvie, president of Electric Pictures, and then also there was Andrea Quinnell, who was a producer at Electric Pictures, who actually, and this was very cool, she lives in Toronto, and that was so beneficial to us. She's Australian but lives in Toronto. But what I'll say is that we agreed from the beginning that nothing would go out the door that the 4 of us didn't agree on. So what happened, we had all of those conversations in San Francisco. Now, we had some very, very difficult phone calls in the beginning. The very first cut, we were all on different pages. But we just fought through it. And at the end of the day, we all respected each other's editorial chops. We had seen what each other had done. We had similar goals for the project and sensibilities. And here's the other thing, we had similar experience. So all of us had come from a lot of natural history and engineering shows. And so there was a real respect, and I think that's the key. If you have respect, you're going to be able to listen to other people's ideas and test them out. But I don't know about you guys, but I know when something is working and when it's not, and so did they. So we didn't all get to the solution the same way, but we knew when it wasn't working, and we were usually on the same page about that.
Other question? Down in the back.
I love what you said about how putting teams together allowed you to to up your product into something like a premium documentary project. Are there any other genres that you think would lend themselves well to a co-production that you might be
So,
exploring or thinking about?
I'll say, I'll make it money, even though I'm sure someone could argue with me. But I think anything nowadays, if you're in Canada, that's going to go above the $500,000 or $700,000 an episode price point, it should be a co-production, or could be a co-production, because those price points are too much for our broadcasters right now. And even if we bring in tax credits and CMF and all of that, we're still having a hard time hitting those premium factual numbers. So the content, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, it does matter, because it needs to, as I said earlier, it needs to organically flow into the country you're partnering with. But the price point is also a big part. If it's under $5, I would say personally, I would try to finance it, not domestically, but by ourselves. Like, we would still piece together the financing with, Nat Geo International and Discovery US and History Canada, but we wouldn't bring in a co-production partner as another financier. However, when we get above $5, we start looking at that. And right now, we have a project that we're in the middle of negotiating with a New Zealand company and hoping that they'll come in on it. And I've been teasing that out this week, and it immediately got broadcasters who are into this project more excited. Right away, they're like, okay, not only do we love that company, but they're also going to bring international credibility to the project, because it's not that they don't like Canada, they do. But they like when Canada partners with another country. They just do. And then suddenly it gives it a momentum that it didn't have 10 minutes ago. So now this project is like top of our list.
And it'd be the same in features. I think for Canada to get more and more competitive with our features, we have to do more co-productions. And if you look at the success of something like Room, it reached a global marketplace because it was a natural fit. I mean, it was based on a book written by an Australian writer who then did the screenplay, but there was a natural fit with Canada, because we have the talent and the expertise to be able to deliver a lot of it at a really good price point. And the Canadian films, they're small budgets, but those co-productions are able to punch above their weight because they're reaching a different and a bigger market. And I think it's the same thing. I think we're in a place now where we have to be looking for alternative sources of financing. The great news is that the world truly loves Canada.
Yeah.
We are seen as a country, I joke, but to partner with, that we have the skills acumen. We also have not just two agencies, but you have provincial agencies across Canada that actually help fill out the financing along the way. And I think there's more and more interest, I hope, for also private investment in Canada to be part of the stories. And there are some great co-production marketplaces. I think you had some on there. And maybe what I can do is we can add more to our presentation, where you can go and start exploring with other partners. So, to your point, if there's something you already have, then I start having that conversation, start looking at what other countries are consuming. I mean, we're in this fascinating, amazing place where you can actually see content from around the world at your fingertips, whether it's on Amazon or Hulu or Netflix. What a great time compared to not even 10 years ago, where you had no idea what the world was consuming. We're in a really sweet spot right now. But I think it's time for Canada to have a bit more Canadian swagger and take our place in the global media marketplace. I'm like always a cheerleader. Any other questions? You want to go for the donuts? No, you So for the telefilm one, by the end of the week, we'll put it up on our website. We put under, I think it's like industry research or resources or